onto the next topic. So, in our last class, previous session, we covered a number of topics. Who can remember some of them? What things did we cover last time we were together? Mention a topic. Okay, commands. And specifically how commands are processed. So when we issue a command, ls, true star, something like that, it's actually a set of processes which take place to handle this. Give me one or two of them that take place before before the work can actually get done, so to speak. Before the process is invoked, if I want to use speak. So give me some understanding of how this is handled. We actually talked about quite a few steps. Just give me a few of them. Just one. What has to happen before this can do its work?
Okay. Yeah, that's
Good. So it needs to somehow find what you mean by ls, right? Where that's located. Maybe there's many LS's around. It's here or it's there. You want to fold your home directory one over in bin, whatever, bin. So it needs to find which one is located. But even before that step, there's a step that goes on here that unpacks this in some way. Does anyone remember? There's a command. The thing called an, okay, we'll do hangman. Starts with an A. There's 5 letters. It ends with an S. Aliases, yeah. Thanks. That's not a nice way of writing it. So aliases. So what do you mean by aliases have to get handled? That we have to look up whether this is an alias. If that's an alias, what has to happen? Yeah, we have to sort of maybe ls is alias to mean ls minus la. By the way, what is this thing? It's an option to the ls command, and L means long form. It shows many types of information, like size, like date, like owner, group associated with it. And then what's the A? Yeah, show all these files, even files that begin with dot, which are often suppressed. And sort of things like dot, which means what? Yeah, parent directory, or dot, which means where I am right now. Yeah. Okay, so this can get unpacked into that, and then, as the gentleman said, there's a further step where perhaps this is all entirely what he had in mind, all these steps. Then it has to figure out which of these it is. And where does it look for that? Path. Good. Excellent. So if I wanted to go to Tux World, and excuse me, I have committed a faux pas here. So change settings. Let's try frobbing the names. Oh gosh, where is this thing? Okay, font. I don't want to do this in 10 point. Let's go. Oh great. Let's try this 18 point. Boom. And just try. Hey, there we go. So if I wanted to go, I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna go to bash just because that's a shell you're a little bit more used to dealing. If I want to see what's in the path variable, if I want to see where it looks for this, what do I do? Yeah, I could say echo path. That's a great way, and it will tell me that, right? So that would be terrific. I could also do set, and I could go up and look here, and I could actually see path there. Now, a little bit of syntax here, folks. I didn't stress this earlier. I kind of feel a little bit remiss, so I'm trying to fill in some gaps here. I'm trying to remind you of some things from last week, but also help you with filling in some gaps that I admittedly left. If I wanted to set the path variable to have something else in front of it, what's the syntax for that in bash? Okay, I can do it. I can do it in many shells with export, but I'm actually going to use a simple syntax to only affect. So exporting is going to have the impact of setting it for all processes that are running. In other words, all things that have been started from this shell are now going to know about this updated path. Okay. I actually want to go and just affect this shell. So I'm going to propose a syntax. So suppose I wanted to start it with foo. Could I do this /foo in path? Would that work?
Yeah.
Let's see. All for yay? All for nay? Okay, undecided is the rest. So it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, I don't know what. What's going on? It's actually giving me this weird error message, starting with /bin and saying, hey, there's no such file or directory called this. What's going on here? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's actually expanding this $sign path. That actually says expand it. Replace it by its expansion number. Replace it by its all the value that it holds. And that's not what we want. But that's one of the jobs that it undertakes when it's expanding the shell command. And that's why I'm covering it here. So if you go, for example, if you were to do, ls, let's make this, ls home / foo star. Before it processes this, another step that it's undertaking is actually expanding this $sign home into whatever value it holds, right? That makes sense? Yeah? So, here, because I type echo home, which is my home folder, it will print that out. It's expanding this before it processes it to whatever it is. So here, it's actually expanding this. So actually, the syntax is not correct. The syntax is actually this, okay? And so if I then go echo path, then I see, to my heart's content, foo is at the beginning. Does that make sense? So that weird error message was because it tried to process this thing $sign path as a command. It expanded it, and it got this weird thing at the beginning, and I don't know how to handle that. It's some weird thing. It's certainly in a file. Okay? Okay, so that's a little bit of syntax, but tied in with this whole issue of expansion. So what I'm saying here is that when commands are processed, there's several steps involved. And it's helpful to think about what's going on to interpret error messages such as that. Working with computers, and in life in general, we are always making mistakes. And the real thing that distinguishes people who can succeed extremely well, often from those who are not succeeding, is their ability to take those mistakes and turn them into lessons. Figure out how to learn from them, to reduce the vulnerability to making that mistake again, to reduce the processes, the issues that left you vulnerable to making that mistake in the first place. Not just to figure out how to avoid it in the future, but how can I, in general, learn more effectively? For example, consulting manuals more or whatever, asking people, so that I could avoid that sort of mistake in the future, maybe by reading a book chapter. But here, we have a case of an error message that you can reason through if you know about the steps of expansion. So what looks like a very prosaic activity, you know, you type something in and you get out a you get out a result here, is actually in fact a fairly articulated process that involves several stages of processing. And they involve everything from variables to aliases to issues of wildcard expansion, another thing here, from foo into foobar into foobaz into foozat. So there's actually several stages involved. So that was a little bit of a reminder on